As I was around my dining room table on Thanksgiving weekend, Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hameed, my dad, who's like your biggest fan, was asking all sorts of questions about you and the kitchen table astronomy we're doing right here around your kitchen table in Amherst with our resident astronomer, Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hameed, Mr. Universe. So yeah, he really brought the family together. He loves what you have to say. He loves your energy. He loves your accent too. So that's all great. And you had an interesting Thanksgiving tie-in that ties into my employer, WGBY, which is a PBS affiliate.
Yes, and by the way, say hi to your dad.
I will. Yeah.
But
he used to be my New England Patriots correspondent on my other show, but oh, thank God he doesn't have to do that now. Oh, what a terrible year it's been.
Well, he was there for the golden days. And it's not just the PBS tie-in. If I can also bring in Hampshire College tie-in.
Right.
Because one of its alums, esteemed alums, the most well-known alum, I should say, is Ken Burns. And I just cannot recommend enough his most recent series, which is called The American Buffalo, which is on
PBS.
That's right.
WGBY, public television, NEPM TV.
These are two-hour episodes. And so he gets...
So you don't have to commit your whole life like most of his series is?
Like his Vietnam, for example, 18 hours, which I thought was amazing as well. But if you do get a chance, and again, I have met people who go like, oh, American Buffalo, I don't know what it's sort of like, I don't know, it doesn't fit with Ken Burns. Actually, no. I think it's one of his best series. And it is about America, and it is about... what sort of like how the West, when people talk about sort of like, how the Europeans colonized the West, it's a story about that. It's a story about how buffaloes went from being everywhere, in millions or hundreds of millions, to almost extinct within 100 years. And again, yes, it's sad, and yes, it appears sort of like, oh, do I want to watch that? No, you have to, because it's not just about that. It's also about its relationship with indigenous population. And the story is sad. The story should make you angry, but that is a story of capitalism coming in. And if I can just tie in, because we talk about space and astronomy here, in some sense, a lot of the themes when I was watching it was also about, well, we are going to space. And the reasoning behind it, like SpaceX and others, or Bezos with Blue Origins, it's still profits. Mm-hmm. And you can have those other elements. Oh no, we are doing it for saving humanity and things like that. But the consequence of these type of things being driven by rampant capitalism, you see that play out in American Buffalo with real consequences to which we are still paying the price. And so it's just a beautifully done film. His history, of course, is brilliant. The people, the talking heads in it are just spectacular. I cannot speak more sort of highly of this documentary. So please check out American Buffalo. And in some ways, it also pairs well with Killers of the Flower Moon, which is the Martin Scorsese film. But spend those 4 hours with Ken Burns on this, and a lot of indigenous people who speak in that documentary. And I think this is a perfect time for that.
Hampshire alum, local connection. And also, become a member of NEPM and you get the passport. You can watch all that stuff. But now we're going to talk about what we usually talk about, which is astronomy. We're going to zoom in slowly with some beautiful music behind it on an exoplanet, just like Ken Burns would do on an exoplanet.
I think you have to say that if you have an effect named after you, Ken Burns effect.
An iMovie effect is called Ken Burns, and it just takes a photo and zooms in on it slowly.
So I want to talk about, we often talk about exoplanets, and here we are going to talk again because James Webb Space Telescope, one of its missions has been to look for what is going on in the atmospheres of these planets, exoplanets that are orbiting other stars. So not only now we have detected over 5,000 planets around other stars. Now we are starting to get information about the atmospheres of these planets. And the method, the way we use, is the eclipsing method, meaning to say that these planets are in most cases still too faint and too close to a bright star. So the way we detect information, the way we get information is when this planet come in front of the star. So it in kind of an eclipse, meaning to say that light from a star dips a little. But on its edges, when it's just about to get to the star, you can actually see light from the star go through the atmosphere of the planet, and that can provide us with a lot of information.
Through spectroscopy.
Through spectroscopy, exactly.
Which means like the visible light spectrum, different things in an environment will manifest in certain colors of the spectrum, and these telescopes can see that and know what's in that atmosphere light years away because of the light.
Right, and you need very precision, you need very detailed and precise observations for that, and that's where James Webb Space Telescope comes in, and also in the infrared it makes it easier. So, and of course we want to look at, can there be any life signatures? So for example, I mean, like, oxygen, which on Earth at least is sort of like, it was produced by earlier life forms, and now it's in our atmosphere. So maybe that could be a signature for life. So there are all of these things, but we are slowly getting in that direction. And so there is a new observations, the new results that have just come out, where there is an exoplanet named WASP 80b.
It's where all the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants live. Right. If you need to colonize your own planet, there you go.
Right. And this exoplanet is sort of like, what astronomers call warm Jupiter. There can be hot Jupiters, which are sort of like, 1,000 degrees or so, or 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit in their temperature. And you have our own Jupiter, which is much, much cooler, like minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you have warm Jupiters, which is about like 1,000 degrees.
And by Jupiters, they mean like Jupiter-sized planets that are gaseous like that?
That's right. So it's a big planet, and it's a gaseous planet. And those are easy to observe, and because of gases. So like, so right now in most cases astronomers are looking for those targets because those are easier, and of course the difficult ones will come up later. And this is WASP-80 system. It is about 160 light years away, so relatively close. And this particular planet goes around it every 3 days. So you get actually a lot of chances to actually observe it. And the star that it's orbiting is a red dwarf. So it's a star that is much smaller in size, so it's not as hot as our sun. And it's actually a bit younger than our sun as well. It's about a billion years old or so, unlike our sun, which is 4.5 billion years old. Now, here is the thing. Astronomers have detected methane in the atmosphere of WASP 80b.
Which means there are cows there burping.
That's exactly right. And so methane...
Jump to conclusions.
So methane is one of those elements which can provide sort of like, potential signatures. If there has been debate about whether there is methane on Mars, because we do think like, maybe it's cyclical. Maybe it's from microbes or some other things, belching Martian cows. But we should be clear about it that there are also natural ways in which methane can be in the atmospheres. In fact,
non-living ways.
Non-living ways. Yes, it's all natural.
It's all natural.
I have to say, non-living ways, meaning to say, I mean, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn.
I know Uranus creates methane in my household.
Just fell into
walked into that one. It was like a black hole.
That's exactly right. So yes, so that is so it's available. It's visible. But here is the case that in this particular system, methane has been detected. Now, methane has been detected in some other exoplanets as well, including a much more interesting one, and we talked about it. It's K2-18b. Of course, you remember Monte about that. No, probably you don't.
No.
But that was actually a super Earth, and not only methane was detected, but a lot of water vapor in it as well. And in fact, that particular planet was in the habitable zone. Meaning to say that it was at a distance from its star where water vapor or water can be in liquid form, and people thought that that might be a water planet, an Hycean planet. So why are we talking about? Why did I bring up after Thanksgiving like this particular planet, WASP 80b? It has methane, but it's warm Jupiter. It's not like the Earth. Well, no particular reason, but but it has its other names as well. It's an official name. I thought actually that was interesting. That in 2019, International Astronomical Union, and it was its 100th anniversary, and it had a name an exoplanet, not competition, but it suggested to different countries that they could give official names. And IAU, International Astronomical Union, is the one that officially recognizes any names given to a planet, and they are the ones, I hate to say, that kicked Pluto off of a planet. But this particular star system, WASP 80, was actually named by Jordanian amateur astronomers, and the star was given the name Petra. Of course,
I've been to Petra in Jordan.
And I've never been there.
If you've seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, it is when they go into where the Holy Grail is, that's it. The facade into this rock structure called Petra in Jordan. When you go in there, there is no invisible bridge. I was there literally with people that are like, where are all the obstacles? I was like, kid, that's a movie. There's no knight that's been living for hundreds of years here.
Well, so here is this other connection. So the star was named Petra, and the planet, which we are talking about, WASP 80b, small b, that's how planets are designated, was named Wadirum. And Wadi means valley,
yeah.
All right? And so Wadirum is it's sort of like, city in a desert, and that's the place which looks a lot like Mars. And in fact, you're talking about movies, Lawrence of Arabia, the movie and Lawrence of Arabia himself, actually, T.E. Lawrence, he actually went around there too, but not just Lawrence of Arabia, but The Martian, that was also shot over there. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker.
So anytime you need a set that looks like another planet or Mars, this is this Wadi Rum.
And Dune. Arrakis. So this is
Dune?
Arrakis.
David Lynch Dune or New Dune?
I don't know. I think
probably the new Dune.
The original Dune was shot somewhere high in the clouds. I don't know. No, it's at least the new Dune that I know. Part 1 and Part 2 is also over there. So Arrakis actually stands for there. So that is actually really cool. So I was looking at it. I was like, I just wanted to tie into that because and if you get a chance, go look at some of the videos of Wadi Rum. It's WADIRUMM, and it's just an amazing place. And there are places, and here is not space tourism, but certainly Jordanian tourism thing. There are these luxury campsites over there. You can do glamping over there, and I love it. And I also know, happen to know there's somebody, Mac Malkawi, he's Jordanian, who's the founder of this nonprofit, I think, Borderless Labs, which actually does Mars simulations. So those are called these analog astronauts that go over there, meaning to say they think they sort of they have habitats that are just like Mars, and they try to live like that as well. And these Borderless Labs, they do bring students from other universities and other colleges, and they come in over there. They do Mars experiments, rover or whatever, different things. But I know that they have also brought in people from Jordan and from refugee camps and stuff like that, and train them as astronauts, for weeks. They would bring them to the US also from NASA facilities and others. But it all starts down at Wadi Rum, which looks really like Mars. In fact, there are some pictures of them hanging on from the cliffs, if you're not paying attention, you can easily say, I was on Mars.
Right. Or Stanley Kubrick could fake a moon landing there, let's say.
That's landing on Mars, which, by the way, was the premise of Capricorn 1. Now I'm going way deep into the bad science fiction, but yes, Capricorn 1 was the fake Mars landing, and I think, I don't know where it was shot, but it's quite likely it may have been over there. So coming back away from the movies, going back to this particular exoplanet, so WASP 80b, this is 163 light years away, and now we know that in its atmosphere you have methane in there. It's interesting, we don't know why. Probably it's just like in our own solar system, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. I mean, that's how that is over there. But a way to think about it, and one of the people and the authors of this study said, we are now looking at atmospheres of exoplanets the way we were looking at planets, atmospheres of our own solar system, of the planets in our own solar system about 50 years ago. So just think about it, 50 years ago, the resolution, the way we were looking at our data from Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, now we are looking at similar kind of information. Now we are getting it from exoplanets.
And the imagination that it goes into creating science fiction is inspirational towards science fact. And now we've got this planet 167 light years away with a little nod to one of our great location spots for some of our great science fiction films.
Absolutely, and I just love that connection, like, and just look at the pictures. I would love to go there. Monte, we need to do a field trip
To Jordan?
over there.
I had a great time in Jordan.
How long were you there?
I was only there for a few days.
Okay.
I was spending most of my time in Jerusalem and then going to Jordan. Spent a lot of time in Cairo and all over the Middle East. Yeah, it was
and I should mention that you've also spent how many months in India?
I went there once for a month and then I went back again for 3 months. So yeah.
We have to bring you to Pakistan.
I can't. That's where you're going later this afternoon.
I am actually later today.
I would love to go to Pakistan.
All right, we'll do that.